How do you find a story arc for your memoir? That's the topic I'm addressing today in The Right Question. I'm Daphne Gray Grant, the publication coach. I have a question from Lorna Blake, a writer based in Vancouver, British Columbia. Here's what she's asked by email. I'm writing a family memoir, but I'm having difficulty finding a story arc. The various incidents are all coming out as anecdotes. How do I deal with this problem? Thanks for your question, Lorna. Good for you for recognizing this issue. It's a big one, and some writers don't even notice it. Memoir, especially family memoir, is a challenging genre. It's all too easy to get pulled into a chronological retelling of facts and anecdotes. And while this approach may well be enough for people who were related to Uncle Frank or Aunt Annabelle, it's going to be incredibly boring for everyone else. What readers really want is a way to put all those stories into context. Some writers describe a story arc as an emotional framework. Others call it a sense of purpose. I call it the point, as in, what is the point you want to make with this book? If you were an academic, you might call it your proposition, theory, hypothesis, or premise. So, how do you find it? First, don't start writing too soon. Give yourself plenty of time to think and reflect on the point you'd like your memoir to make. This is not a decision that should come quickly or easily. Reading a lot of memoirs by other authors will help you consider various ideas. For example, I recently read an interesting memoir by Deborah Kopakin. Titled Ladyparts, see link in the show notes, the memoir describes the author's life in the context of various surgeries she'd had to have. In some ways, the concept or story arc works really well. Much of the book is about the failure of the American healthcare system. And it's also about the sexism of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But in other ways, the story arc fails. I found the book about 25 to 30% too long and a bit too unfocused. In contrast, I'd like to mention my favorite memoir of all time by Elizabeth Tova Bailey. It's called The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating. See link in the show notes. While an unnamed illness keeps Bailey bedridden, she watches and reflects on a wild snail that has taken up residence on her nightstand. Sounds boring, doesn't it? But the memoir is beautifully written, often funny, and deeply insightful. It does not lack anecdotes, but it also offers so much more. It's very brief, and you can likely read it in a couple of hours. Look at books like this one and make notes on how the writer communicates their point, and then imitate their strategies. Anecdotes will still play a role. Don't get rid of them, but they need to support your point, not the other way around. Finally, let me wrap up with the words of Australian writer and actor Steve Bisley. Writing a novel is easier than writing a memoir. You are not constrained by the truth. Lorna, if you've been thinking about your memoir for months and haven't been able to discern your point, I suggest you give mind mapping a try. I provide a link with more information about that strategy in the show notes below. Viewers, if you have any writing-related questions, I'd be happy to do a video on them. Just send me a quick email, daphne@publicationcoach.com, or put a note in the comments section of this video. And if you'd like to make your writing a happier, more rewarding process, check out my latest book, Your Happy First Draft. It's not available in bookstores or on Amazon. The only place you can get it is my website. Link below and in the show notes.